Tiffany Henyard, the corrupt mayor of Dolton, Illinois, is perhaps the most hated woman in America. Before you say Kamala Harris, let me remind you that Kamala at least has her supporters. There are tons of people who really like her. Tiffany has her mother, maybe her daughter, and a few senior citizens around town that love her because she gives them free TVs on Big Bingo Night. As for the rest of the nation, forget it. If witch hunts were still on vogue, accusations of Tiffany casting spells to make milk sour would emanate from over 300 million people. The feds have been investigating Tiffany for at least 6 months, and we expect indictments to be handed down any day, week, or month. No one who has watched Tiffany operate can conjure up any sympathy for what's about to happen to her. In this video, I want to put her strengths and weaknesses in perspective. Consider this an open letter to the supermayor. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
First of all, Tiffany, let me say that you have your strengths. Or should I say strength? I've seen you put on events. You're always there for every minute, working the crowd. You have a flair and the energy for community outreach. You seem to enjoy walking up to people and engaging them. You mostly speak in forked tongue, but that's often a useful tool in such a job. If you had put that energy to doing good for the people rather than for yourself, you might have even turned out to be a decent mayor and supervisor. Despite your lawyer's claims that you're a neophyte at your job, and therefore Keith Freeman is to blame for all of your exploits, you have a reasonable handle on governance and its rules and laws. You certainly knew enough to know when you were breaking them. If you had been willing to listen to those around you who knew more about governance, that would have filled in your knowledge gaps. Of course, that would require at least a molecule of humility, and you have none. You could have continued to earn your $300,000 a year, bought a great house and nice cars, put your daughter through the best schools, and been respected by everyone in town. After 20 years or so of service, you could have had parks named after you permanently. Your daughter could have looked up to you and bragged about your leadership, using your legacy as a springboard for her own career. That all could have been yours. But you just couldn't resist the temptation for being a tyrant. Because deep down, that's who you are. Stealing, lying, and exploiting are as second nature to you as passing wind is to my dachshund. I don't even think you grew up on the rough side of the tracks. But your mannerism, speaking style, and most importantly, your attitude all reflect someone raised in an Inglewood housing project. So live it up, Tiffany. Party down. Because at some point, they'll turn out the lights. You're going to prison. I think even you know that. A word of caution. You're small, arrogant, and have a big mouth. You can't do anything about your stature, but you can fix the attitude part, and you'd better. Because you don't stand a chance in prison. See this woman here? This is Dorothy. Just tell her that you're the supermayor and that you're going to educate her. See how that works out for you. So I have some questions for you. Did all the times you enjoyed your power trips watching townsfolk kiss your ass make up for being everyone's over the next few decades? Did you have so much fun on your trips that it more than made up for the time you will have all of your freedoms taken away? Did all the expensive food you bought for yourself on the taxpayer's dime make up for all the Fruit Loops and prison burgers they'll feed you? Oh, they'll tell you what to eat and when. And you'll eat it too, or you'll starve. Did all the stuff you bought for yourself make up for only being able to see your daughter on weekends, and only then through a glass and microphone? Your daughter will have to grow up without the companionship of her mother. Perhaps this prison has a program where your daughter can spend more time with you for extended periods. That would be nice. But that raises another problem. Incarceration becomes normalized. Her chances of committing crimes and becoming jailed increase enormously when she becomes accustomed to her mother's incarceration. But do you even care? Did all the pictures of yourself that you posted on every sign, coffee mug, brochure, and t-shirt make up for the sheer embarrassment of being labeled a crook, fraud, and thief across the nation? For being famous as the woman whose incompetence and deceit bankrupted an entire town. You're not in a position to answer such questions right now. That will have to wait for another 20 years, when you're still languishing behind bars and praying for early release. Even if you get out in, say, 10 years, what are you going to do? The only job you could have done well, community event organizer, is now gone. Who would hire you to reach out to partners in communities? You could have also been a natural saleswoman, but who would buy anything from you now? Forget politics. No one is going to hire you in a city government, and Mike Doxson, who cuts the cheese every time he gets around strangers, is more electable. If I entered Frankie Walker Dredd in a mayoral race, even with his picture, he'd garner more votes than you. I'm being serious. You could write a book, but Illinois probably has a law that would strip you of any revenue. Even if it didn't, that money would go to pay restitution, which would be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you lie so much, who would bother to read it? In fact, there would be little point in getting a job that paid well. Anything above minimum wage, they'll attach. You only get one chance in life, one time on this planet. You had the opportunity to spend it in a fulfilling way beyond what only 0.01% of the population could ever dream. But you pissed it all away just so that you could feel like a queen and push everyone around for a couple of years. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.